What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Hobby Talk, where we are talking baseball because spring training is in the air. So today what I have to show you are two Sports Illustrateds from the 50s that were spring training editions and a Type 1 photo. So gonna start with the Type 1 photo. This thing is so cool and is 100 years old. It's actually the oldest thing in my collection. Here in a couple months, it'll be 100 years old. It is a photo from April 23rd, 1924. And there's so much to unpack here. So you have, first of all, you have these super badass sweaters that Babe and Herb are wearing, Herb Pinnock, and they are so cool. I found a colorized photo. I'm gonna put it on here, but they are just badass. I can't even imagine seeing players in something like that today. So classy. But this is post-game from the Yankees home opener versus the Boston Red Sox. So they just beat up on them. They won 13-4. Herb Pinnock pitched 7 strikeouts and a full game, got credited for the win. And you got the Babe here, who just went 3 for 4 in the game and hit his second home run of the season, his 240th of his career, just to kind of give you an idea of when this was taken. But the Babe is getting handed a package from Commissioner Kennesaw Landis, and that package is holding the World Series commemorative pocket watch from 1923. So the season before, they just won the World Series. It was Babe's first with the Yankees, which started his run with them, and it was the first of now 27 World Series titles for the Yankees. So just an incredible, storied franchise. But this pocket watch is so cool. It was actually sold in 2014 on Heritage Auctions for $717,000. And my guess, if it went to auction today, it would be worth a couple $1 million, I'd say. I mean, it's kind of unique being a watch, but here's what makes it cool. There's so much provenance. The watch was gifted to the Babe's kind of constant companion towards the end of his life. His name was Charlie Schweffel, and Charlie asked for it, and the Babe had it engraved, gave it to him. It came with a ton of provenance. I'll link the listing in the description because if you're interested at all, go read it. It's badass. But this photo to me is so awesome. Original photos have gotten really popular recently. Luckily, I haven't bought in this whole run up, but I bought some years back that I just think were awesome like this. And there's just an original photo, just in case you don't know, there's Type 1, Type 2, and then 3 and 4 declarations. PSA slabs these things. If it's a Type 1 photo, it was developed from the original film within the first 2 years of the photo being taken. And a Type 2 is from the original film post 2 years. And then it gets to be kind of just a wire photo, which is developed from a duplicate film. But they're very cool. A lot of them are, a large portion of them are going to be one of one. I wouldn't imagine there's others out here like this. There could be, but typically people didn't develop several of them unless it was an iconic picture. Or if it was just something that was used over and over. So for example, the 1953 Topps Jackie Robinson image, that Type 1 photo, I've seen several of them sold. I don't know why there's so many, but there happens to be. This one, I can't imagine there's more than this one in existence. It's kind of wrinkled, has a ton of character. Turn to the back, okay? The back of this thing has just as much character as the front story to tell. So you see writing, it says April 24th, 1924. Probably, I mean, that was the day of this newspaper article, I'm sure. But then you see all of these stampings, credit Brown Brothers. The original photo must be returned to Brown Brothers. So the way these photos would work is the photographer would take the photo, develop the photo, and then mail it out to news stations, newspapers. And they would then put the photo into their newspaper, and then they would give the photo back. So here Brown Brothers gets the photo back. Somebody, it looks like, clipped the newspaper article, glued it to it. I don't know if that was a photographer, the news press, or whoever. And then they go file this away. And then there it sits until it eventually gets pulled out and slabbed. And now I have it nearly 100 years later. So Type 1 of Babe Ruth, smiling, looking young, getting this badass pocket watch from the 1923 World Series. I love this thing. So next up, I have to show you a Sports Illustrated from March 5th, 1956. and it is actually Stan Musial's first appearance. He's over here on the right side. So from left to right, because I didn't know who these players were, you have Bill Verdon, Harry Elliott, Rip Repulse, Wally Moon, and Stan Musial. And the Wally Moon cracked me up because I was going through some cards that my father-in-law gave me and found a Wally Moon, and I had no idea who it was. And I made a hobby talk about that. I filmed it, and I even say I don't know who the hell Wally Moon is, but anyways, kind of cool that I had it, just coincidence. So in order to kind of take you to what's going on in this time, so you have March 5th, 1956. It's cool to kind of dive into the year before and year after. So in 55, you just had the Dodgers beat up on the Yankees for the World Series, and you also had the Philadelphia A's move from Philadelphia to Kansas City and become the furthest west team. So previously it was the Cardinals, and now going into in 1956, you have the A's there in Kansas City. In 56, gosh, this went on to be a super memorable year for baseball. You had Mickey Mantle win the Triple Crown and the MVP. I think he belted 52 homers that year. And then in 56, you have a rematch of the Dodgers-Yankees World Series, and Don Larson pitches his perfect game in Game 5 of that. It was their Game 5 or Game 6 of that World Series. And just an iconic year for baseball. So what a season that ended up becoming. On the back, so again, the back, the ads on these Sports Illustrateds are so much fun. This one happens to feature 3 different whiskeys, the quality whiskeys to serve for people of inherent good taste. And you have this picture of old white money sitting around drinking their whiskey. So anyways, these ads are awesome. They make Sports Illustrateds every bit as much of a time capsule as the front does. The cover obviously takes you to the athlete and the story, but the back takes you back to this time in history when it was smoking and it was drinking on everything. And so, speaking of commercials.
Fans, among the many big league stars who smoke Camels are Hank Sauer, Eddie Robinson, Bob Porterfield, and Ferris Fain. And here's the Yankees' great outfielder, Mickey Mantle. What do you say, Mickey?
It's not hard to see why more folks enjoy Camels than other brands. I found that out the first few packs.
Meet Granny Hamner of the Phils. Granny, why did you change to Camels?
To me, there's more smoking enjoyment in Camel.
This is the Senator's Jackie Jensen. Jackie, why is Camel your brand?
Most people seem to like Camels, so I tried them. Looks like I picked a winner.
You know the old pro from North Carolina, Country Slaughter. Country, what made you change to Camels?
Because they're really mild and they taste much better.
Try Camels yourself for 30 days and find out why, according to latest published figures, Camels lead the second-place brand by 43%. The third-place brand by 54%. The fourth-place brand by 144%. Try Camels yourself and see what you've been missing.
So last to show you, I have from March 4th, 1957, almost 1 year later to the day, this awesome Sports Illustrated 57 Spring Training Edition with Mickey Mantle on the front. So this is Mickey Mantle's second appearance on the cover of Sports Illustrated. In Sports Illustrated, you know, as a collector of that category, we like to collect the first time an athlete was on the cover. So it's just like it's their debut cover. It's like the debut ticket. It's like the rookie card. And so Stan Musial, in his first time on the cover here, that makes this issue very collectible. This issue is just collectible because it's Mickey Mantle, and the guy's awesome and a legend. And so this is Mickey Mantle's second cover appearance. It says down here, The Real Mickey Mantle by Gerald Holland. So I'm sure dives into Mickey's life and some chapter of his life, which back to this year. So 56, we just talked about it. You had his Triple Crown year. You had this insane banner year for Mickey, and going into 57. So in 57, Mickey's greatness continued. He ends up hitting his 200th career home run, and he wins the AL MVP. The Yankees end up having a league best 98 wins. So they have the best record in baseball. They go back to the World Series. They play the Milwaukee Braves, who Hank Aaron and the Milwaukee Braves end up getting the best of the Yankees and winning their first World Series title in their franchise history. Hank was brilliant this year in 57. He hit 44 homers, and that's an iconic year for Hank. Obviously, that's his only World Series title. But gosh, 56, 57, spring training issues here. Real quick, talk about newsstands. So population of newsstands. So newsstand edition are far more sought after than a subscription. So subscription are gonna have the label on the front. And when people would get a subscription edition, you know, it wasn't uncommon to read it, throw it in a tote, and put it in your attic. And so there's many more of those. Newsstand account for approximately just 2 to 3% of all of the Sports Illustrateds that were printed every week. So they're very scarce. One, because there weren't many printed. Two, because the life of a newsstand magazine, you know, you're getting on a plane, you're running through a subway, and you grab this off the shelf at a newsstand, and then you're on the go. So it doesn't likely end up getting back home and safely filed away to be kept in good condition. So newsstand are just, they're that much more intriguing to me because they weren't necessarily an item that was supposed to be kept, you know. Baseball cards were supposed to be kept, and so you have far more in good condition. A magazine would get read, it'd get flipped through, and get thumbs and greasy fingers all over it, and it would put these little ticks in the spine that break color, and I mean, they would get destroyed. And so when it comes to newsstand editions, there aren't many. So of this stand Musial, there are 21. This is an 8.5. Believe there's only 3 graded higher. And so, you know, 21 in existence of newsstand right now that are known, that's not very many. And so when you get into super high grades, I'm not concerned as a collector about super high grades when it comes to Sports Illustrated. Obviously, the higher the grade, the better. But I'm not gonna be so much of a snob, especially with vintage issues, because I know just like the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle card, iconic, there's only 3 tins in existence. The 3 tins don't sell because those big collectors keep them. Similarly, these big collectors of Sports Illustrated, they get the highest grade and they hold on to it. I'm not like that. I've had a couple high grade vintage. I mean, I am, but I'm not, it depends. I've had a couple high grade vintage where I sold them to put money in my pocket, fund other items, and I could buy a lower grade, and there happened to be one available. I'm not saying I don't want a high grade of certain issues, but that's kind of my take on grades when it comes to Sports Illustrated. If you have to settle for a 6, 6.5, 8, 8.5 of a 1955 issue, fantastic. That's not bad at all. And so of this Mickey Mantle issue, there are 3 at a 6.0. There are 14 graded higher, and I actually own a 5 also. I just think it's a cool issue. It's Mickey Mantle, and he's a legend. So yeah, grades, I mean, you always want the higher grade, but if you get a 5 or a 6 in a 1950s issue, appreciate it. Last thing, the back of this one. You have a cigarette ad, tobacco. So Marlboro, it says, this is where I was very intrigued. It says, new flip top box, firm to keep cigarettes from crushing, no tobacco in your pocket. And it says you get a lot to like, filter, flavor, flip top box. This flip top box was just a shit. I found a video on it, so enjoy that.
Is the Marlboro story. It all started back in 1954 when Marlboro came in a feminine package, and men didn't take too well to filter cigarettes. Well, the Philip Morris Company had done some very thorough research into the fast-growing filter business and had come up with a revolutionary new cigarette package, the first new one in over 40 years, the now famous flip-top box.
So anyways, who knew flip-top box on cigarettes was such a big deal? Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We got into the Type 1 photos. That was my first time covering those. The Sports Illustrated, gosh, they display so cool. They have such a story to them, and they're just an anomaly. Who would have thought to keep them? So anyways, thanks for watching Hobby Talk.